Hi, I have in front of me here a Triax Zone 2 Sky dish. Now, Sky make a range of different manufacturers who are licensed to manufacture Sky dishes, and the design varies slightly. But in terms of the L&B that it'll work with and the overall gain in the dish, virtually all of them are identical. I have sort of a preference for the Triax dish here, simply because I think the overall design of it is better, and also the material that goes into a Triax dish is generally better. If you just actually held one, you just find it slightly more robust than some of the other designs that are on the market. So what I'm going to do here is just give an overview of how to assemble this dish, the component parts in it, and the tools I'm going to use in it, okay? So what we have here is the dish itself. It's a skin, so you can see it's sort of an oval shape. We have the dish bracket with the L&B arm integrated into a single piece. We have an elevation bracket which we'd use for adjusting the angle of the actual dish. And what we have here is the wall bracket, which is bolted onto the wall for mounting the dish. What we have then is the various nuts, bolts, etc. That come with the dish. And finally then what we have are the tools for the assembly. The most basic you can get away with for assembling this would be a Phillips screwdriver and also a 10mm spanner. In this case I'm actually going to use a socket simply because it's faster. And I have a flathead screwdriver which I'm just going to use to demonstrate how to take this back apart at a later point. So what we'll do here is we'll just start off with the wall bracket, and I'll quickly do the assembly of that. So you can see here we're going to use two U-bolts here, and what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to slide this U-bolt underneath, and in a second you're going to see it popping out here. And if I just hold this up here, we'll just see we come along, we put a U-bolt in here, and we put a nut on here, another nut here. And we would replicate the same process with the second U-bolt here. And we just slide it through. Okay? So you can see the assembly on it's very simple. So we'd mount this then, bolt it onto a wall. If you can imagine it bolted with that side profile. We'd use plugs and bolts just to mount it on securely. And then we have an option of mounting the satellite dish bracket this way, if we want to get maximum extension on it, or we can actually mount it this way if we want it very tight to the wall. So it really depends on the aspect of the wall which way you want to mount it. So that's the assembly of that out of the way. I'm just going to move it off the table here now, so I'll free a little bit of space for myself. So what I'll move on to next then is the actual the elevation bracket here. So once again this uses U-bolts. So we'll slot a U-bolt in here, a nut, another nut, slide it on, and I'll repeat the same process on the bottom here. So we complete the assembly of this, and when we actually go to mount this onto the wall bracket that I assembled earlier, what will happen is, I'll just hold this up for a second, we will just slot it in like this, and you can imagine this is mounted on the wall, and the dish is mounted off it like that. And what we can do is you can adjust it, okay? If we just look at the writing on this, we want the numbers to be legible in terms of the way they are rather than upside down. So you can mount it the right way or the wrong way here. It looks almost identical, and indeed it probably work pretty well, but I always just have the numbers, the 70 at the high part and the 10 at the bottom, and that's just giving you an angle adjustment on it, okay? So that's the assembly of that part done here. So I'll move on to the next part, and this is what I think is a really clever part of the design. On all other Sky dishes, these two parts are these are two separate parts, but here we have a Hinge Design where you have a single dish. The L&B and the dish bracket is made as one. And if we see here, there's little grooves, and if I move this around, I'm just going through the motion, and we're just focused in here, what's happening. I'm just going to push this in, and it clicks in. And the reason that I have the flathead screwdriver here is, if I wanted to disassemble this, take this off, I just need to push this flathead screwdriver in here, wedge it out slightly, and then it'll allow me to release the mechanism, okay? So what we'll do at this point is, we'll just come along and we'll actually do the assembly of the dish in a moment. But what I'm going to do now is just quickly show how we put the elevation bracket onto this. So what we have here is, we have this bracket we want to mount it on, and we have the following bolts that are here. So we looked at the inside design of this. We can see the holes here on this, just hold it up slightly, are square, and so is the head on these nuts here, is square as well. So I don't know if you fully pick up on that, but it just means that when we slot it in, it'll actually lock into position, and because it's square rather than round, it'll hold the nut in, or the bolt in position rather than letting it rotate. So I'm just going to come along here, I won't do the full assembly on this, but I'll just give you the basic idea of how we're doing it. We just get the nut. We slot it through here, and we would use our bolt here, like that. And we repeat the process for all 4 corners, and we just make sure that the circle in the centre, and we want it tight enough to hold in position, but not so tight that we can't adjust the angle afterwards. And when eventually we have the dish aligned and exactly in position, what we do is we tighten this up the full way in on all 4 bolts and lock it in securely. Okay? So what I'm going to do at this point here is I'm going to come along and I'm going to do the final assembly of where we're putting this bracket and putting it onto the dish. So we just slide it straight through like that. And I'm going to see, can I do this now without falling over? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this nut here with a Phillips screwdriver head would be suitable for. And I just slot it straight through. And we'll see we have it here. So I'm going to use gravity to assist me here. Just hold it up like this. And we screw this in. And we repeat the process at all 4 corners, and we can see we can lock it in securely like that, and then we have something that looks very much like a sky dish now. Okay? Now the final part of the assembly obviously would be, I'll just lock all this in. I'm leaving out these other steps because I think you'll be able to follow what we're doing there quite effectively, and I just try to make the video as short as possible while getting across the information. What we eventually have here is we have the L&B, this plays an octo, and what we do is we just slide this on here. And we slide it under the lip, and it just clicks into position. And what we'll do then is just push it down and it clicks in. Once again, it's quite hard to click it out afterwards. You'll just note here on L&B's there's 2 little grooves here where it'll click in, and that matches up with these 2 little grooves here. This is why it clicks into position. Once again, if you're trying to take the L&B off afterwards, you use a flathead screwdriver. So that gives an overview of it. Just basically the uses of this. People would be using something like this Zone 2 Sky Dish for free-to-air applications, for Sky applications. Over in the UK, we'll say that you mainly use a smaller Zone 1 satellite dish, but over there, this dish would be quite popular for use with satellites from Poland and things like that. Where in Ireland we need an 8cm dish there, mainly. Over in the UK you'd be able to use this for some foreign satellite as well. So that's it anyway, an overview of the Triax Zone 2 Sky satellite dish.